Thank you. Good evening. I would like to call our school committee meeting to order. It is Thursday, August 31st. We are obviously meeting by Zoom this evening. I want to thank Jamie Wixton and WCTV for setting that up. The meeting is being broadcast by WCTV, recorded by WCTV, and audio recorded by Jamie Wixton. So thank you very much, everyone, for shifting gears tonight. We're going to start with public participation. Is there anyone in the public that looks like they want to speak? I do not see anyone at this time. If something happens later or someone comes in, we'll make an exception if we need to. We'll start out with good news. Would anyone like to share some good news with the start of the school year? Dr. DeAndrea.
Thank you. And here comes Gisela. Okay. Thank you. I have a couple of things. First of all, I received a couple of emails actually from some folks from the Mass Audubon that worked in our summer program. And one of the emails was from Cindy Sweetser. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But she wanted to share her appreciation for the amazing Wareham summer program that she was fortunate to participate in. She worked with some of our students on a piping plover program. That was a great experience for both the students, teachers, and the interns. And she wanted to say thank you for the structure behind the scenes that made it all happen. It's an impressive program and very valuable to our students. So I just wanted to say thank you for her. That was great to read. Also, there was also a similar email from Chris Hitchener, and he said the same thing. He really enjoyed the program, and he was honored to be part of it. So thank you. And Jane is here. So thank you, Jane, for all the work to put that together. And I also wanted to say that we've had a great 2 days opening of school. Everything went smoothly. I want us to say thank you to all of our staff on the great job that they did. Our transportation department, Marie Ferreira and Tracy McGraw, and all our bus drivers, the great work they did, the principals, our custodians getting the building ready. The building's ready. They look terrific. And so thank you to everyone for the job that they've done.
Thank you. Dr. Schwab?
Yes, I just wanted to talk about our new teachers because I spent a couple of days with them last week. I think it was, all the time is blending together, but there were 17 new staff members from different parts of the different schools. And I really want to thank Jamie and Erica from payroll and Robin from technology and Bonnie. And it takes a major, it's an undertaking really to have people come in and make sure that they have everything that they're supposed to have done and ready. And then the email set up and then access to all of the programming and everything. And on top of that, they're really great people. We had 2 days that were just probably the best I've had yet. They're from different backgrounds, different levels of experience, very kid focused, and I'm just very excited for them this year and having them. We're very lucky that they chose to work at Wareham Public Schools. So I just wanted to share that.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Joyce?
I just wanted to say thank you for the invitation to join in last week. And was it earlier this week?
Yes.
For the new teachers and for the opening day for all. I can't think of another time when you can be in the presence of all the employees and the educators from the district. And it's really a great day. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be there. It's great.
And the band was really brave.
Yes, that was a great touch. Yes. Thank you to Mrs. Francesi for getting those students together to practice and make that happen. And as Dr. DeAndrea said, the buildings, the grounds, everything looks so nice. It's clear that the custodians and the ground staff, they work so hard during the summer.
Great, agreed. All right, we will then move on to item number 4, minutes of the meeting. Do we have, so we have minutes from 5:16, 6:15, 7:13, and 8:3. Before I ask for a motion on those, did anyone have any questions or concerns on any of those minutes? Okay, seeing and hearing none, I would ask for a motion to accept the minutes of May 16th, June 15th, July 13th, and August 3rd of 2023.
So
I
moved.
see that April has moved, so I will second.
Okay. And so we have to do a roll call vote. So Jeff,
Yes,
April,
Yes,
Brennan, I understand is trying to get in. Is he in yet?
He's not in yet. He's getting an interesting message through Zoom that's asking him to have an email sent to him in order to get in.
Okay.
I'm hopeful that he can get in on his phone. He was using his computer, so he's trying to come in.
Okay, so we'll have no vote for Brennan at this moment. Joyce
Yes.
and myself, yes. So 4-0-0, I guess, at this point. Thank you. We move on next to our student representative report. I'd like to welcome Gisela Priestley as our newest student rep. And Gisela, the floor is yours to maybe just introduce yourself to the committee and to the community.
Hi, thank you. My name is Gisela Priestley. I am a new senior at Wareham High School, and I am just incredibly grateful to be here today. And going on to the news or report of our so far year of just the past 2 days. We welcomed the new 8th graders into the school, which has been a transition that I think we're kind of used to now. The 8th graders getting used to a high school schedule and getting used to just walking in the hallways with high schoolers. We've been getting used to the new schedule, which moved our lunch block back a period, which from my information from Mr. Palladino is supposed to help with reducing the amount of disciplinary actions that have to take place after lunch as people get a little bit more restless. And so from fellow peers, people seem to be enjoying the new schedule. All of the grades have just had their class meeting. The juniors and seniors had theirs today. And as you all know, we have the new phone policy that's been implemented, which from what I guess we can expect is being taken, I don't know, with a grain of salt. Some teachers are appreciative of it. A lot of teachers, I think. Some students are getting used to it. And overall, I think, even though we don't love it, I think it'll benefit us. And then a lot of our clubs are starting up. Student council will be having its first meeting, and so will lots of other clubs such as theater, and the theater club will be having their auditions soon. So those are just some couple of announcements, I guess.
Thank you, Gisela. Does anyone have some questions for Gisela? Because I would ask her, so what exactly is the new phone policy?
Yes. So the new phone policy is basically we are not allowed to be on our phones during class, which was somewhat of an expectation in previous years, but this year is being enforced more heavily. And now there is like a 3-step process where first you're getting a warning if your phone is out. Second, your teacher can just take it. And then third, it goes down to the office for the rest of the school day. And so now it's just being implemented far more rigorously.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Gisela?
I'd just like to officially welcome Gisela. Congratulations on being chosen. And it's
Thank you.
great to see you in yet another context. Welcome.
Thank you.
Great. We look forward to hearing from you, Gisela, throughout the year. You are free to stick around tonight or not. That is completely your choice, and that will be the case all year long going forward as well. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we're going to have the Director of Finance report, and I would ask committee members to also reference the superintendent newsletter for our first vote that Kristen's going to explain regarding student activities accounts. So at the bottom of the first page of the newsletter and the top of the second page is the language that we will be voting on of the superintendent newsletter. So I will turn it over to Kristen Flynn, our Director of Finance.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I have the student activities account overview in your packet. And as the chairman said, that's what we'll be voting on this evening. There's 3 votes that we will need. So the first vote is to approve each activity annually with the specific funding sources and the objectives. And this is all from the student activities account school committee policy. So in your pack, you have a listing of all of the student activities accounts for each school, high school, middle school, elementary school, and also PATS. We have all of that. So we ask that we'll need to vote activity annually with the specific funding sources and objectives.
So just to be clear, that isn't a separate item that was sent to us from Kristen. And so we'll look at that one first, and then we'll go to the superintendent newsletter that has the other language.
Mhm.
So we had the student activities overview. And exactly what do you want us to look at here, Kristen?
So
The first vote?
Yes, so in that document, there's a listing that's titled Wareham High School Student Activities Account School Committee Report. And that has each student activity with their objective and funding source for each school, for the high school, for the middle school, and elementary school.
Kristen, do you
Okay,
want me
so
to
with the listing of the
that?
balance,
Would it help if I shared that? I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Would it help if I shared that?
it might, just to put everyone on the same page, literally, sure.
All right. Okay, is this what we're looking at?
Yes.
Okay. So we need to acknowledge that these are all the student activities in the various buildings, and we're voting on that.
Yes, you're voting on the clubs and activities. The balance is there for your reference, just for information. And there were no additions or deletions from any of the schools.
And is
So
it
this one-
accurate to say that we've already approved all of these clubs and activities? So that's just for our reference, correct?
That is correct, but the student activities policy does state that the school committee shall vote to approve each activity annually with.
So
with
in theory, we could make a motion to remove an activity?
Sure, I would think so.
Well, then I would ask Dr. DeAndrea, do you have any concerns about any of these activities?
No, I do not.
Okay. I see April has moved and I will second.
No question.
Joyce, question?
Yeah, and you can tell me if this is not, well, anyone can tell me if this is not the appropriate time to ask this question. I guess I was just very surprised to see that the senior class only has $400 in their account. And I know Scott isn't here tonight, but I'm curious, are we charging senior dues? And if we are, where are they going?
Okay.
I believe the senior
can't
dues
hear.
will go into the student activities account, but we can get more information from Mr. Palladino.
Okay.
Too.
Okay, all right, let's do that.
And along those lines, are we really keeping an account open for $20? And
Yeah.
what is the plan for the 2,000 that the class of 23 left us?
So they let the principal and let us know what they'd like to do with any remaining balances. And so they have a choice of keeping it open, turning it over, or to another class or another activity. So that part is in the process now. The class of 22 with that $20 balance, I can get more information on that, but I suspect that maybe that's what's left after when I think they bought some benches or some flowers. to improve the school. So that might just be what's left in that account, but I can certainly get more information on that one as well.
And for Gisella's benefit, who actually makes this decision for the class as to how that money, $2,000, for example, for the class of 23 is going to be spent? Does the class presidency remain in effect forever?
So according to the policy, it said in their graduating year, the class officers of the graduating class should specify how any remaining monies should be transferred upon the class's graduation. Possible methods of disposition are donate the balance to the high school, donate the balance to one or two more school activities, clubs, or undergraduate class, or transfer the monies to a checking account set up in the name of at least 3 class officers and require 3 signatures to access funds for the purpose of funding alumni reunions.
So I guess it's up to Scott to tell us whether any of those things have been done.
So yes, for 2023, it is in process. They do have a letter. I don't have it with me right now, but I can tell you that I have seen that is in the works for the class of 2023.
Okay.
Joyce?
I would just say that I believe at graduation, they announced that they had decided to use their money to give it back to the high school to be used in a weight room at the high school. Now that may have changed, but that was what they had decided at that time.
Yeah, April agrees, and that's a memory of mine too, now that I think about it.
Mhm.
Good. All right, so we have a motion and a second to accept the activities as listed. We'll do a roll call vote on that at this time. Jeff?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
And myself, yes, 400. Thank you. Kristen, take it away.
Okay, the next item that the policy requests is for, and this is the first item on your report here on the superintendent's report, is to vote on the maximum checking account annually. So on that sheet that Dr. DeAndrea had up, the first page has the listing of the maximum balances, and it is what you have in your newsletter here as well. And this hasn't changed since last year.
Joyce?
Have these amounts, these limits on the maximum balance, have they ever created a problem for any of the schools?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So I have nothing but respect for Stacy, but why is Stacy listed as the second signature for the high school instead of an assistant principal like the other 2 schools?
So Stacy is the student activities accountant. It's a appointed position at the high school. That is not a position that we have at the other 2 schools. She maintains a lot of, as you can see, she maintains all of the accounts. She does the accounting, prepares the checks, works with the advisors, processes the check requests to fund the accounts through the business office. So she does a lot of she is the student activities accountant. So that is why she is listed here on that, because she's the one that is, she's the one that is doing it daily and is in constant contact with the advisors and with the principal in preparation of that. And the policy does allow, I believe it says, the school committee is going to vote to authorize all designees, the principal and the student activities accountant. And again, that student activities accountant is an appointed position by the principal.
Okay, in that case, do I have a motion to accept these positions in these student activity account authorized signatures?
So moved.
Do I have a second? I will second it.
Well, first of all, April moved it before Joyce, and then she seconded it, and then Brendan seconded it. This was all done on the chat.
Okay, so I'm not gonna go by the chat to do that unless we visually, unless we say it at the time. I did not see that at the moment.
Okay, then I'll
Can
be
anyone
happy to.
hear me?
Can hear you now, Brennan. Welcome.
I'm here. Thank you.
All right, so 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 for the note-taking purposes, who made the motion?
Well, since you're not allowing chat motions, Joyce made the motion and I'll
I,
second.
I,
Okay, April, we just had it. Okay, and then Brennan, you seconded it. Is that correct?
Yes, I seconded it on chat because I didn't know if I was on audio.
Okay, all right, so good. So now we'll take a roll call vote for this. Jeff,
Yes,
April,
yes,
Brennan,
I kind of came in late to the conversation, so I didn't get the whole information. I should probably abstain because I didn't get the whole
okay, so you'll
story
abstain.
of what we're voting on.
Okay,
Yeah.
Joyce
Yes,
and myself, yes, so that's 4-1-0. 401 in favor. Thank you. And Kristen, the third item?
The third item, like that one, we voted on the designees, correct? And the third was to vote on the maximum checking account amounts.
So we have the maximum listed there. I think we already had a question on that. Do I have a motion to accept the maximum balance?
so moved,
Thank you, April. A second,
second,
Joyce,
second.
okay. Roll call vote. Jeff,
yes,
April,
yes,
Brennan,
Yes.
Joyce,
Yes,
and myself, yes, 500. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, on my report, I have the financial report for June 30th, 2023, so to close out 2023, and also the one for July to begin 2024. And I still have two budget transfers, one for each year. So I'll do the 23 report with the 23 budget transfer and the 24 report with the 24 budget transfer, if that is okay.
Sure.
So in FY23, you have the June 30th, the balance, you have the line item budget. So you can see how all of the line items ended up as of the end of the year. You also have the breakdown of the by the function code and also the chart by function, expenditures by function. So all told, Wareham Public Schools spent $32,014,965 in FY23. And how that broke out is under the function codes, the instruction cost center was 68% of the expenditures, as we would expect. The second highest was pupil services, which is mostly transportation, health services, athletics. That was 11.3%. Operations and maintenance was 8.3% of the expenditures, and that includes, of course, custodial services, utilities, maintenance services. Tuition, which is our out of district tuition for special education, was 6.8%. Administration costs, which was superintendent's office, business office, assistant superintendent, curriculum, and school committee, some technology, was 3.4%, and benefits was 1.9%. So that's how our expenditures broke out for FY23. Does anyone have any questions on FY23?
yeah, I have a question on the collaboratives tuitions. Is that, do you want to go to that page next,
Sure.
or do you want to take the question now?
Are you talking about the budget transfer for collaborative tuitions?
Yes.
Or yes, yep, that's what I was going to go to next.
Okay, then I'm good with the line item.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so also the next item that we have is the budget transfer, the final budget transfer for FY23. And this was to fund all accounts that were just to fund them completely. So as Mr. Sweat mentioned, we do have a budget transfer for collaborative tuitions, also a small amount for transportation contract services, and a very small amount for substitutes. in your packet. So the collaborative tuitions, these are tuitions that were paid for out-of-district special education students to collaborative placements. And originally we had charged them to circuit breaker when we had a budget freeze, and we just wanted to make sure that we needed to be able to fund those tuitions. So at the end of the year, we were able to reclass them back to the local budget. So that's what this budget transfer is for.
So that
for
doesn't,
this-
so that does not reflect more students than we anticipated.
No, it does not. Nope, it's a reclassification. It was originally paid through circuit breaker, and this is reclassing it back to the local budget.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the budget transfer also includes a small amount for transportation contract services. That was one of our final invoices, and also substitute teachers and nurses for about $150. And those were both expenses that were posted after our last school committee meeting. Our 6:30 warrants were not posted until mid-July, and also the payroll, we had a few timesheets that came in after 6:30, so that's what that's reflective of. So because this transfer is transferring within cost centers, it does require school committee approval.
Just a quick question. You said the money came from circuit breaker, but you've got all these cleanup transfers that add up to that amount. Why isn't it a simple transfer from circuit breaker to collaborative tuition?
The accounts were the invoices were originally paid from the circuit breaker account. So we wanted to pay them from the local budget. So this is a result of a two-part action. The first action was to reclass, from circuit breaker to local.
Okay.
Yep. And now we need to fund it. Exactly.
Yeah, we just didn't see the first part. Okay, no problem.
Yep, exactly.
So do I have, Joyce, go ahead.
I don't have a question. I just want to thank Kristen for providing us with these detailed reports. I don't take that for granted. I know that there's a lot of work that went into being able to provide these for us, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do I have a motion to approve the budget transfers for FY23?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All right, we'll call Joyce the second, Jeff the first on that. We'll do a roll call vote again. So Jeff,
Yes.
April,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
Joyce,
Yes.
and myself, yes, 500.
Before I forget, I want to thank April for even being here.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And Kevin.
Okay, you sound far
Well,
worse.
that's
Kevin sounds normal. You don't.
My family is thankful I can't talk though, so.
All right, Kristen, the next one, or is that?
Yes.
Yep.
So the next one we have is FY24. Similarly, you have the same reports for FY24. So this is the month ended July 31st. So what we see here is obviously the first month of expenditures for FY24, but we've also in the business office, the LEA bookkeeper for the local budget put a lot of work into encumbering all of our costs, such as utilities, maintenance contracts, other service contracts, like for special education, tutoring, related services, tuitions and transportation, the special ed, the accountant, the bookkeeper that takes care of special ed also. So they looked at, we took a look at what those costs are expected to be for the year and encumbered them in July for the entire year. So we're effectively setting aside that money so we know every time an invoice comes, we pay off that purchase order. So we're making sure that we have the money in those accounts for those expenditures. Like I said, utilities, we take our best guess, maintenance contracts that we have, copier contracts, anything of that nature. So we've got a lot encumbered. So that doesn't necessarily mean that we have already spent this money. It just means we anticipate spending it by next June 30th. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention here as well. So we have our payroll expenditures for July. Certainly we haven't had many instructional expenditures because the staff the teachers, paras were not paid over the summer. So you'll start to see that change over time as we did last year. So one thing that I want to mention is we are going to be again watching the Wareham Elementary electricity very closely. Our facilities director and our HVAC technician are working very hard to try to find the optimum temperature set points for that building that will control not only the temperature, but the humidity. And we had a lot of use of that building in the summer, so we're still trying to tweak that as well as what the appropriate budget level for that is. So that's something we're definitely going to have to watch. We had a higher than expected invoice in July. So we've made some modifications, and that's, like I said, just something that we're just going to have to continue to keep a close eye on. Also, one thing I want to mention, we will have some salary budget transfers for several reasons, I'm sure. But one specific is as you know, during the budget, we had offset salaries with school lunch funds. And that was typical year to year. A portion of probably about 8 people's salaries was charged directly to the school lunch fund. We had the school lunch audit back in January, February, and when we got the written, the review of it, it wasn't a finding, but the technical guidance, they call it, that they gave us was, we don't want you to do it that way anymore. You need to charge it as an indirect cost. So we had already set the budget with those offsets from school lunch. So now what it is in those salaries were slated to be charged directly to the school lunch program, not the local budget. But because we have to change the way we do that, we will be charging those salaries in full. So they were not funded in full in the local budget. So we're going to have some, we'll have to do some modifications along the way. All in all, we'll still be recovering the dollar value from school lunch. It's just a different way of doing things. So I just wanted to kind of give you the heads up about that. And now that our staff is back, once we get a few payrolls in, we're going to start analyzing our salaries, the budgeted versus actual, so we can see, how our predictions were. Every year in schools, there's always staff changes. So some people come in at a higher level than what was the person before them, than what was budgeted, or vice versa. So try to keep a close eye on that throughout the year so we can see how we're going to land up. That's all I have other than the budget transfer, that's all I have for July. I don't know if anyone has any specific questions about July before I move into the budget transfer. I can certainly take those now.
Yes. Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. So the encumbrances, to me, they're essentially accruals, and they're accruals for a certain number of accounts and certain time periods. The time periods vary. Some are through June 30th, some are not through June 30th. I've never heard of doing it. That's not a complaint or a criticism, but I've never heard of doing it that way. Is this for you a relatively common practice?
I would say so we have, like, as you mentioned, we have two kind of types of encumbrance. One would be a purchase order for a single purchase. I want to buy some filters for the univents. So I need to spend $10,000 with the vendor. That's one purchase order. Or we know that on average, we spend $100 a month for the copy machine. So we're going to do one purchase order for $100 times 12 months, and every month we'll pay off that purchase order. So yes, the answer is yes, that there's two ways of doing it. And we're doing it both ways, just to make sure that, again, we're setting aside that money. Because what we don't want to happen is if we have to do a budget transfer and I say, hey, oh, look, there's a lot of money left in the utilities account, but I'm not thinking that I need to get through, through June 30th with that. So this is just kind of a safeguard and a safety net to make sure we're putting aside what we know we are going to have to pay.
So I
So
guess,
all the encumbered, they're based in, past history. They're based in our best estimate of what it's going to cost, but they are encumbrances for actual expected expenditures.
so I guess the obvious question is, what's your level of confidence about being able to predict utilities through June 30th?
Well, in Wareham Elementary, I think we based it on the past usage, but we have seen that in July, our usage was a lot higher than it was a year ago, July.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
Yes. So the other items, I would say pretty confident. A lot of times we have a service contract that says, it's going to be X dollars, or for a tutor, it's this many hours at this rate, this many times per week, not to exceed X dollars. For tuition, we know that. Mhm.
That's great, Chris. Just to follow up a little bit, does Eric have a good explanation of why utilities for July at the elementary school is higher than anticipated?
We do. We're struggling to find the right temperature set point between controlling the humidity level in the building and also the comfort level of the staff and the students that are in it. So we found that when the building was designed, the designer set point for optimum set point is 75 degrees. And with that, they found there's that the moisture is controlled quite well. However, in reality, we found that is too warm. So we brought the set point down. When we bring the set point down, moisture ensues, and that's what we found last summer. So then at that point, the advice from the engineers and the temperature control people was to run in dehumidification mode. So you're running the air conditioning, and the dehumidification mode was essentially the heat. So that is drawing. So we've, Eric and Robbie have worked a lot. They're looking at the temperature levels, the humidity levels, assessing the comfort level almost on a daily basis, I would say. So we started a year ago in June at a set point of 68 degrees. Now, remember, the optimum level that the engineers said is 75, but it was put at 68 because 75 was too warm. We had the issue with the moisture and the mold, so we put the dehumidification mode, ran it, but now we are helping one problem, but we're creating another one. So then at this point, summer started, a year goes by. We put the set point to start the summer at 71. But now we're still running the dehumidification mode. So we received the invoice for July in August, early August, and it was quite high. So we said, well, we have to make an adjustment. And we did. We put the temperature set point back up to 75, and it was warm in the building. We did receive some feedback that it was warm in the building, but we kept it there until yesterday when everybody came back. And yesterday was a very, very humid day, and it was very warm and very humid in the building. So we brought the temperature back down. So to answer your question, that is the explanation. We can certainly have Eric and his staff come in to perhaps explain it a little bit more completely than I can do, but that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of what's happening. So we should be receiving the invoice for August within the next couple of days. And I know that they and I are kind of anxiously awaiting that to see, what that what, if any, difference we hope made by bringing the temperature up. And like I said, it's back down a few degrees, but hopefully that'll only be for a short period of time, and then we can kind of have a more moderate swing here in our electricity.
Well, you have my complete admiration for the detailed explanation I got for my question.
Oh, thank you. I have to give thanks to Eric. I've asked him to explain that. Eric is very well versed, and certainly, you know, Robbie as well. I've asked Eric to explain this to me several times so that I can hopefully explain it to you. So, but thank you. So, but I do have to give credit to Eric. So,
Oh, wow.
thank you,
Yeah.
Eric. It's
Credit, certainly credit to Eric, but you remembered what he said.
I have notes too. I wrote it. My mother told me all the time, write it down, Kristen. So I have notes.
On the other hand, I must confess disappointment that a year later we're still struggling this, and disappointment that, you know, that it's such a struggle. But I'll stop taking any more time and thank you for your very full explanation.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. And I know we all share that. I think we're all disappointed. But you know, we'll get that it's really just a compromise between what is comfortable for the people that are working in that building and the students that are learning, and the level of cost that it takes to provide that comfort. So that's what I think we're trying to get to at this point.
Is this the right time to ask for a very brief explanation for the 2 journal entries?
Sure. So the 2 journal entries that you see in your column, those are for our July fuel costs. So the town of Wareham pays for the fuel for our vehicles. So every month they send us a breakdown of what our vehicles cost, our share of the cost of what they've paid for the fuel. So here you have a journal entry for fields and grounds fuel. We have fields and grounds and also our maintenance vehicles. So you see those 2. And then you also see the fuel for the regular ed buses and the special ed buses. So that's how we record our costs for fuel, because we don't pay them the invoices directly. It's a journal entry from our budget to whatever the town's is.
So Judy has no problem with these journal entries.
No, because it's giving them money.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So I do have one budget transfer for FY24 already. And what this one is here is, in an effort to be more efficient and with processing our mail, what we would do is we would be replenishing the postage meter from several different cost centers' budgets every month. And we found that what would really be helpful is to have one postage account that we could load with funds, so that we wouldn't be running, you know, we were just reimbursing as we go. And what would happen is, if we got a big mailing, we'd be running low on postage, and then we would have a little bit of a problem. So in talking with the staff that use the postage, that replenish the postage, run the postage machine, we came up with this idea, and it's definitely going to be more efficient and timely, and it's going to have a separate account for the postage. So if we ever wanted to say, hey, how much do we spend on postage? It's right there. We don't have to look, go and extract information from the high school's office budget, the middle schools, the superintendents, the business office, special education. So to that end, to create that account, we didn't have that when we created the budget, the FY24 budget. So the proper accounting for it is in a administrative cost center, but we need to take some of the funds from the instruction. So that's what necessitates the budget transfer, because we're transferring funds from the high school, the middle school, and the elementary school principal's office supplies to fund their share of the postage in this one account. So that's what the budget transfer is for. And we found that last year we spent $5,038 on postage. So we're just trying to fund it at 5,000 just to get started, for our, for this year. And we hope that, that's going to be enough. If not, then we will address that later.
Move approval if it's not too
Moved.
early.
That sounds good to me.
Second, makes perfect
Second.
sense.
Okay, so we'll have a roll call vote. Jeff,
Yes,
April,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
Joyce,
Yes,
and myself, yes, 500. Thank you,
very
Kristen.
much. And just for reference in your packet, in the email that went out, I just included an update on revolving funds. I know we talk about that at a different time of the year, but I thought it would be useful to see what our balance as of June 30th is. So that is for reference in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
healthy balances. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, next we have Dr. Schwam for the professional development report.
Matt, can you share your screen with me? Or allow me to share, actually, my screen.
Dr. DeAndrea, what happened to your ceiling?
I think it's in the basement. You're muted, Matt, on top of it.
Sorry about that. That was a rookie mistake. I am in the basement, Jeff. I am in the basement.
Ah, okay.
Okay,
Well insulated.
that's right.
Post
So
disabled.
can you share, Andrea?
No, it says it's disabled.
All right. Right. So I'm gonna make you the host, okay? And
Okay.
that'll give you the right to give you rights to share your screen.
Awesome. You can't see that, right?
Yes,
You can or you can't?
we can.
Oh, so it worked. Awesome. Okay, great. So of course, we always start with our future begins here, our vision and our mission and our core beliefs. And I think that's always just important. What I've noticed about the vision statement is that 2 students now at commencement have stated that they had become the greatest version of themselves at Wareham Public Schools. So I know there's something about it, right, that's grabbing at least our kids so that it's an inclusive statement, which I think is really important. And of course, we're always looking at it to see if we can do something different with it or make it better every year. And of course, we have a safe learning environment. We want to communicate effectively with honest conversations, model respectful relationships, and foster learning that challenges everyone to be their best selves. And our values are relationships, perseverance, respect, and compassion. That being said, our strategic plan, when we met and you all approved it, I think it was 2021. We had professional learning as one of those elements as one of the priorities in our strategic plan. And it's really difficult to create professional development for all of the various elements of the people in your district. and what they do and what they need and where they are in their cycle and so on and so forth, and the requirements from the Department of Ed. And it's really and truly, I think, the bane of every person at central office responsible for professional development, and no matter what. So with a lot of thought and some, talking to Bonnie LaSource, looking up, I talked to the evaluation subcommittee about their experiences, because in essence, your professional development should connect to the evaluation system. I spoke to other districts at the superintendent conference, looked at their models and what they did. I said, with the help of the evaluation subcommittee, we sent a survey out to staff to identify what they would like to learn more about. We asked staff if they'd be willing to teach a course and put a stipend in for them to create a course. And actually, I have a few. I think a little is still hesitant, but often colleagues learn best from colleagues. And then began to look at internal and external vendors to provide PD. And then what I had to do with the model is train those people in adult learning theory, because what I didn't want is to have, if it was virtual, for example, I didn't want all of our staff to be in front of a screen for 3 full days of PD, and then I wanted them to be able to match the course with their goals and collect artifacts so that their evaluator could see that they're heading toward professional practice that they believe will help them and their students. Also, we have to adhere to the professional development points required by the Department of Education, and offer when you're in your license, when you're relicensing, you do that every 5 years, depending upon where you are in that cycle. And you have to have 15 PDPs in English language learning and 15 PDPs in special education. And new teachers need to have cumulative hours with a mentor and coursework so that they can become professionally licensed. So you can imagine there's a lot happening. And then of course, we have priorities ourselves and different initiatives that need to happen. So that started that. And then what will happen, this will be the second year of this process. So the first early release day is September 13th. They are trained every year via contract on the evaluation system. So a PowerPoint is sent. I offered to come over, but often the departments and the principals will take that and train their staff. And then from there, they'll look at the courses that are offered and choose the professional development for the 3 days that they have available to them, write their goals in collaboration with colleagues. For example, the humanities team and the English department may want to focus on specific goals in writing, for example, and all of them would like to do that. And they will then collaborate with one another to create a goal that they can all get to or achieve, and then choose the course that will match that desire for them to reach their goal. And so last year's, it was okay last year. I mean, I think the results of the survey were excellent, better than I had ever actually received from staff, which was really quite good, because I was very scared. No one else does this, and it's sort of created with a mismatch of like just looking at all of the different elements and the timing. And I have to really start planning this in January or even before. I think I've already reached out to a provider for next year. That was, the schedule was kind of messed up because of the changes that we had to make. And so I've already reached out to her to see if we can't solidify at least one day to begin for next year. But nonetheless, it takes a lot of coordination and a lot of talking to people. And then of course there's money involved. So I have to make sure that all is covered with grants. So I don't want to spend any LEA money ever, as much as possible. So anytime I can save the LEA, I try to do that. So I have to figure out, what we received, what I think we might receive in the future, and then plan accordingly with that. But the survey results gave some great feedback. And and that made me feel really positive. So I think I scored like an 82 or an 85% overall on the model, and that's the highest that's ever happened. I'm usually in the 70s, low 70s, and I'm okay with a B. So we'll see. I'm not, in my education, I was never okay with a B, but in this instance, I was okay with it. And so we'll see how it goes. And then what I did all year was get feedback, because I go to all the department meetings. So I'm able to gather feedback from what all the school leaders believe that people will need in their training, and then incorporate those trainings into the choices. So, and then the other issue is that the course catalog, the last year described every single course for all of the schools, and you had to read it and understand the premise behind it, which people are like, what, we get to choose? You know, I think that they were a little bit surprised that they were able to do that. So my goal this year was to try to streamline it a little bit and make it easier for people to look at the document. So it looks like, and I'll show you kind of what it will look like, because I think, so this is the Wareham Elementary School. You can't see it all, but they had training for the first 2 days back in Bridges and Amplify, which are two new programs for reading and math that we vetted for 2 years. So those programs took off, and they had training in both pre-K through grade 4. And then on September 13th, they'll have this to choose all of the different coursework that's available. If you're one of those new teachers, you're going to sign up for Research for Better Teaching. And I've let all the new teachers know that that's where they'll be heading. And they'll click this link, and you get a quick description and the dates and some direction on what you need to do. So I created every single individual link so that they wouldn't have to necessarily read the whole course outline, but they could just click and see. And then we have the EL, the 12 PDPs here. I mean, the 15, if you are recertifying in your 5 years and you need those, they're available. And then we have 2 trainings for special education. One is internal, teaching about alternative portfolios, and that training and how to gather the artifacts necessary to send to the Department of Ed. And then ESS, which is Effective School Solutions, is offering some trauma-informed instruction and some rich PD. We have Satchel, which is the SEL, the Social Emotional Learning Committee, that met for 2 years, vetted about between 7 and 10 programs, and they felt that Satchel would be the best program because it actually integrates lessons that are age appropriate, follow the Castle framework for social emotional learning. And so we made a deal with them, and they're going to offer PD as well. And then we have some digital convergence. We have Google Gathering that was highly that people enjoyed that a great deal last year. And then we have another person from outside that will come in and do some tech on implementing artificial intelligence and other elements with Google and how to be more efficient with those kind of things. And then there are independent opportunities, and then All Cape Day, which I still haven't gotten their schedule. So I'm waiting for that on October 6th. So those are for everyone. Every single school has those offerings available to them, and depending upon where they are in their licensure or what they need, they can choose from this side. And if you're one of those people that are in good standing with that, these are the offerings that we'll have with for the elementary schools. So we have obviously Amplify, which is a pretty intensive program, in Bridges as well. And then Empowering Writers and Letters through Lexia, which is a graduate level course that they'll have to extend the time from there. So is Research for Better Teaching. That's also a graduate level course. So they'll be going longer than those 3 days, but they'll be working during those 3 days as well. And then everyone has to sign up on that. So I think I just lost my thing. That's so so the other offerings, so I'll just get out of here. The other offerings that I have for the middle and the high school are kind of interesting. So we received the Genocide Education Act grant from the governor's office, and that allowed us a 2-year opportunity to partner with Facing History and ourselves. So they're going to offer some extensive professional development for middle and high school staff members. We also have a partnership grant with Buzzards Bay Coalition that many are very excited about, dealing with the seashore, the environment, and science connected to art. And those are also going to be available. So I've worked with all of these people, and everyone seems to be very excited about that. And then we have some training with Century, which is our artificial intelligence program that we started to use last year at the middle school, or we piloted last year for math in 7th grade. So we're going to pilot for 5th and 6th grade for math and pilot for 5 through 7 in English. And so they'll be busy. They offer professional development from London, which is cool because their time works with us really well because they're late, right? So our morning is their afternoon. And then they did come last year, and they may come back again to visit us and talk with us, but that will also be at the middle school. So, and then 2 other programs. We have Illustrative Math and Study Sync. And Study Sync is an ELA program that's standards level, age appropriate reading and writing that will hopefully help our students a great deal. It's proven to be true in other districts. So we're excited about offering that. And so we'll see. I really don't think anyone in their right mind would take this on, but now that I have, we'll see how it goes for the year 2. And hopefully it will just continue to grow and become better as we move ahead.
Andrew, I just want to thank you for bringing in the skillful teacher in Research for Better Teaching. I mean, I think that's a really great, effective group, and it's best practices and research-based, and it should benefit all new teachers. Thank you.
Yes, we feel fortunate. I've taken them all, 3 years of it, and then the analyzing teaching for student results. We have all of our evaluators take that anyway every year, but it's a very exciting opportunity. And Matt supported it, which was great.
You had mentioned that you had 127 respondents in that survey. Out of roughly how many? How many staff do you have?
I would say 250.
Okay.
So it's an okay response rate. I'm hopeful that there'll be more responses next year.
Thank you. Joyce, you're muted.
I just want to say thank you. The links at the end of the presentation were really helpful. I had a couple of questions, so I was able to click on those links and answer my own questions. And I also want to say that through my connection with Cape Cod Collaborative over the last couple of years, I have been told that what you're doing in Wareham for professional development is very comprehensive and above and beyond what some other districts are doing. So,
well, thank you.
You've been recognized for those, for those efforts.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Brennan.
I was looking at the results and you had 39 comments. There was a lot of positive, but just so that we can know where the problem is, what were the negative comments? It said there was 4 negative ones. What did they focus on?
They were all from the high school, and it was because of NEASC. So what happened was they were involved in the 5-year reevaluation of NEASC, which is a very long standards process. They're just really, really committed to that. So the first PD day, they were connected to NEASC, so they weren't available. So I had to make adjustments to their schedule. And I don't know that the communication was as clear. So for the purpose, because some of the comments were really opposite of the intent of the PD. So I this year early on started to communicate at every single admin meeting really about PD and the intention and what was meant to happen during those PD days. So yes, I was able to identify the problem and hopefully have addressed it. And I've been to every department meeting. They're rolling their eyes now, but because I keep saying it over and over again. What the point is to empower people to make adult decisions about what they care about and what they want to learn, and then how they implement that in their classroom. I just think they deserve it, but I don't think it's familiar. So they'll need practice.
So it is something that we can address and fix.
Yes, I have been. Exactly.
Okay, good.
Jeff?
So lots of professions have required professional development. And once they take this professional development, they're held accountable for the knowledge that they're supposed to have accumulated as a result of this professional development. And it's part of best practices. Is there anything that's required besides RBT? And is there content within RBT that you can hold someone accountable for?
Yes.
Okay, the rest of the professional development is discretionary in the sense of what they choose to take, but they have to take a certain amount to meet the licensure requirements, correct?
Correct. And they have to have it consistent with their goal and their practices in the classroom, and they have to upload artifacts in order to reach that goal. So it's connected to the evaluation.
Okay. So do you essentially administer it and let the teachers know what they need to do by when, or are they holding themselves accountable for maintaining their licensure?
We are desperately wanting them to take responsibility for their licensure.
That is not the answer I wanted.
Well, they've been coddled for a really long time, and there were people in places that would say, "You're up for your life. You have to," and I think I was a victim of that in my last district, where you would wait for the email from so-and-so to tell you where you were at. And what we've tried to do with TeachPoint and the way that we manage the PD is that they can download their transcripts. They have access to all of that. They have access to the ELAR, which is on DESE for their licensure. And we've said to them essentially that you are responsible for collecting and navigating your license. We have pre-meetings, evaluation meetings. They know where they are in that system. And so slowly but surely over a period of years, it's gotten much better. And people are overall aware of where they are in that process. So it's been a goal of mine for 10 years. So.
Dr. DeAndrea?
So we don't keep track of exactly how many professional development points they've accumulated and if they've met all the criteria they need to recertify. That is on them. That's their professional responsibility. We do keep track of when their license expires.
Right.
And so we know when it's coming up, and we may give them just a heads up that your license expires on such and such a date. We need to make sure that you're licensed. And so that's on them. And we've had some individuals that let their license lapse, and they put their job at risk in that case.
I was amazed when the superintendent of schools for Boston allowed her license to lapse.
Yeah, I remember that.
Thank you, Andrea. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so next up, we have Dr. DeAndrea's report.
Okay, you received my newsletter, and we have a number of gifts that I ask you to consider accepting. 2 safety vests, from Safe Routes to School. Um,
What exactly are safety vests?
they're the reflectors. Like
Ah, got it. Okay.
um, two Wareham schools, the middle and elementary, were among the first 1,000 schools to join Safe Route. So we got those safety vests. Our Adobe license from Wareham WCTV for Wareham Public Schools. That's something they do for us on a yearly basis. And $250 scholarship dollars from YMCA to the STEAM technology classes at Wareham Elementary School.
I'm sorry, what does that mean? What are scholarship dollars?
That is for, it's a good question, Jeff. I don't know.
But actually, it says Scholastic.
Oh, Scholastic, no wonder.
Okay, my question is the same, especially since I'm on the board of Gleason and the Y. So I'm curious as to what good deed we've actually done.
Yeah, I think that's for them to spend on equipment for the program.
So they gave $250 to spend on the STEAM program.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have a motion to accept those gifts?
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, do a roll call again. Jeff,
Yes.
April,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
Joyce,
Yes.
and myself, yes, 500. And we thank all those organizations.
Thank you. Also included in the superintendent's newsletter are a number of bill and payroll warrants for your approval.
Again, I'll ask for a motion.
Move approval of all the payroll and bill warrants.
Second.
Second.
All right, roll call. Jeff,
Yes.
April,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
Joyce,
Yes.
and myself, yes, 500.
Thank you. Our food service department has a Market Forge brand tilt skillet in the Wareham Middle School kitchen. It was moved to the Wareham Middle School kitchen from Minot Forest Elementary School when the school closed. It's over 20 years old and very worn, and Mr. Russo is looking to have it declared obsolete. I'm sure after it is declared obsolete, he'll look for perhaps it to have a home somewhere.
Motion to approve this obsolete equipment.
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, roll call. Jeff,
Yes.
April,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
Joyce,
Yes.
and myself, yes, 500.
Okay, thank you. And finally, after I presented my goals at the last meeting, there were some suggestions for some revisions, which I made those changes and emailed them out to you. One of them was the IB task force was to be completed by December, to extend the time analysis into a year 2 with the action plan for year 2 implementation. And then the final was the climate data at school councils to work with the communications subcommittee on the branding of the schools and how the climate, how we can perhaps communicate that out more effectively to families. So I submit that for your consideration. I also ask that my professional practice goal, which is the focus indicators one, I'd like to work with the evaluation subcommittee, Jeff and Joyce. I'm having some challenges with that I want to share with them, and perhaps look at revising that goal somewhat. So I ask that you do approve these goals with the caveat that I'll be bringing back some more information on the professional practice goal, and perhaps revising that somewhat.
Move approval with the caveat that Dr. DeAndrea requested.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Jeff?
Yes,
April?
Yes.
Thank you. Brennan?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
And myself, yes, 500.
Thank you, and that is all I have.
All right, we'll move on to school committee reports, I believe. Item number 9 on the agenda. I would just like to mention the alumni subcommittee. We have actually started posting alumni that we're profiling on our school website and on our Facebook page. Right now we have 3 people. One, we was going all different ages. A college professor from 1981, a business manager for the Navy in a consulting firm in Washington, D.C. from 2010, and a Wareham elementary teacher who graduated from the Wareham schools in 2015. I would encourage the public and everyone, staff, to go read those profiles and to see what Wareham Schools has done for them. And just very quickly, some of the comments that they made that are on that are posted. The Wareham teachers really developed good relationships with us. They gave us extra help. There was a sense of community and confidence and happiness in my schooling. And they were engaging and knowledgeable teachers in tough AP courses with some of the comments that these people gave. And we are looking for more nominees, that people that we can profile. If you go to the district website, there's some links there that you can contact us, and then we will contact those people and try to get these profiles out on a consistent basis for the rest of this school year. So I want to thank those that have nominated people already, and Patricia Cooney, Colin Antel, and Dr. Richie Maloney were the 3 people that we started out profiling, and I want to thank them for returning their profile information to us. Any other school committee policy review updates or reports? April, if you want to wait, that's fine. I understand. A week or so to comment, we can do that if you prefer.
As of right now, that would be helpful.
Sounds good. We'll wait. We'll report out on that next week.
Thank you.
Looking optimistic for your recovery. Any other business? Joyce?
Just as we end the meeting, I would just ask if we could have a moment of silence for a teacher from Deacon's Elementary, recently passed away, Carol Holmes. Well, I knew her as Carol Holmes at Deacon's School, but she was married. Her name was Carol Holmes Costa.
Thank you. We'll have that moment of silence right now, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. DeAndrea?
I just wanted to say that the alumni page is awesome. I just think it was a great idea, and I think it's a great way to communicate out some of the great stuff that's happening. So I don't know whose idea it was, either Joyce or Kevin or April.
No, well, we'll give
I don't remember who
Kevin,
it was, but whoever it was, it's a great idea.
we'll give Kevin the credit. It's been really great reading the responses from folks that have sent in their information. And we have to give Kevin the credit for writing up the what's been posted also. He is the English scholar, so we've
Yeah.
left that up to him. So
Only if you
thank
don't find mistakes in it. Thank you. All right, if there's no other business, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
So moved. Second.
Okay, and again, this will be a roll call vote, and I will remind people our next meeting is this Thursday, September 7th at 6:30, hopefully in person. So a roll call to adjourn. Jeff?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Brennan? Brennan?
Yes.
Okay, Joyce?
Yes.
And myself, yes, 500.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
You too.